Oh, there you go.
Are we up and live now?
Yep.
All right, we are streaming. Let's give a few minutes for everybody to come in.
Mm.
What's this mean? Excellent.
I think that's like your signal strength.
Okay. Nobody's on yet. Okay.
What's your stream gonna be
Oh, it won't let me change this now.
about? What? Oh yeah, you can. You gotta click on it.
Okay.
Click off of that one. Like click here and then click on the other.
Okay. Hi, folks. Whoa. We don't need to go that small. So this is what they're seeing right now, right?
Yep. Yep. Everything on this screen that shows up right here. Mm-hmm. Oh, Mr. Miyagi said hello, Bill.
Hey, Mr. Miyagi. So far, you're the only one in yet. Oh, there's somebody else viewing. They ain't said nothing yet. They're working.
Funny.
You?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Miyagi, have you ever heard of God in a Nutshell Project or Trey Smith there?
You're very tiny.
Oh, yeah, I'm on your phone.
Mm.
This man right here, Trey Smith, is an awesome researcher. I wish everybody knew a lot more about him, but he's got all these. This one is really interesting. Okay. Unfortunately, he is a on the Trump train, and he believed Kim Clements was a prophet, and I don't believe he was. So I don't believe everything he thinks, but he was at Dean Odle and Greg Locke's debate, so he may be curious about flat Earth. He's still a Glober yet. Let's see. Where's There's another one I highly recommend is Now You See TV. John Pounders and David Carrico. And they put out a lot of different things. There's some more channels there. This is David Carrico's channel. This one, Midnight Ride, Breaking Babylon. This is John Pounders here. Boy, it really likes that other screen, doesn't it? Of course, everybody knows banjo. Just about everybody knows Witsit. There we go. Nathan Reynolds, he's awesome. He'll also tell you how to basically survive out in the wild. He'll tell you how to make your tinctures and your stuff for your homemade remedies and all that kind of stuff. And he'll also teach you some about scripture and stuff. He's interesting. He was basically sex trafficked and turned into a slave for a while. One of the things I wanted to talk about was dinosaurs. Everybody thinks that dinosaurs are fake. They all want to believe Eric Dubay, right? Well, Trey here, he's got some interesting ones. We have pteroglyphs that are pre-human, or not pre-human, but showing that humans and dinosaurs were together. We have this one's a good one. But there's also nobody else. Come on, people. Did he leave? Also got can't think of the name of them now. The Inca stones. They're carvings of different dinosaurs and man together. There's all kinds of them over in Egypt. We also have footprints of Dr. Jed Burton. See, can I find him? Yeah, there he is. Now he's down in Texas, and you can go right up to him, and he'll show you dinosaur tracks that are dug out of the ground that you can actually go dig out of the ground yourself. See, there's all kinds of them. I'm talking with Michael Eisner. See, just because somebody says that all these fossils aren't fossils, they're just in the museum as recreations, they didn't do all their homework. You got all kinds of different places where you can go and find fossils. Trey Smith is another one that had them. And this one here, he shows some, pretty sure. T-Rex. He's got all kinds of them. No evidence for Noah. He's been to Israel. He's went and seen the tomb. He's seen different places. He's gone different places. He got several different places. This one's interesting. He talks about the cube, right, and different things like that. You get into a cube is interesting because that also helps you track through for the royal families. There it is. Because you could take the royal families, trace them back all the way to the tribe of Dan. And I was just watching that. So if I go to history, this one here, David Carrico, John Potter's genealogy of the kings and queens. Every president we ever had has always been related to King John Lackland. Why are we always voting for someone out of the same family? That's interesting. But then you trace the royal family with that cube, and you can trace them all the way back to Egypt. Have you ever seen King Tut's noggin? King Tut. Look at that noggin. Right? Now, one thing about it, if you go to Brian Forrester, right? That's this guy here. Right there. You go to him, and he'll show you that there ain't no way that these could be human. Their eye sockets are too big. They got 33% more brain capacity. And then you turn around, and the spot where the neck connects is in a different spot. Right? It's farther back. Plus, they don't have that suture that goes in the back here. Which tells you, see, there ain't no suture there. They're not human. They're part human, but not fully human. And he'll show you all kinds of things about these weird creatures. Who else we got in here? Yeah, history show. Thank you. That must be one I accidentally bumped, but that does look like an interesting one. You want to learn how to live out in the wild? Primitive technology, that's the guy to do it. They show you all kinds of things. He'll show you how to make clay. He'll show you how to find iron, how to smelt it into an iron billet, and make a little knife out of it. Show you how to make charcoal. He'll show you how to make your buildings. He'll show you how to make clay bricks. You name it. Power hammer made with water. Water powered power hammer. Space audits. These guys are amazing. Alan and Sacred. Sacred gets on there like once a week, Fridays, I think. But you listen to them. Alan, he's brainium. Him and Witsit could probably talk forever. Mickelson Morley.
The readings.
Okay.
So here's a topographical view of
That's
that
Alan.
concrete slab with the mirrors and light beam
He's trying to talk
and
about the
prisms mounted
Mickelson-Morley
on it, and what
experiment.
the path of and what happens to the path of light and where it goes. So here's the data from their from the paper that they published. So here's the graph for their
All right, how do I get out of this now? Back to where I was. Okay. Excuse me. Kingdom in Context. That's another one. This guy, Sean. I can't give him more of a shout out, but he is awesome. This guy here is a clown. Pastor Locke. Moloch in the United Nations. Polyon. Oh, I know what we could talk about. Hey, Walt. ¿Qué pasó, amigo? How we doing today? Where is... Okay, physics, gaming, music, thoughts, podcasts, prescribed beast, archaeology. Okay, let's go see what they got about the beast. Yeah, all this, everything talking about the beast. Oh, isn't that great? Jamming on my guitar. Cool. Okay. So the one thing, if you want to figure out who the right God is, I can tell you who it ain't, starting with this. Look up symbolism. All right? All these little kind of symbols here. You get into those and you get to studying them, and you'll find out that every religion except the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob includes, all come back to the same symbols and the same practices. All right? You figure out that every single ancient people, another one we can do is this one here. Right? Every single ancient people all have the same symbols as they go through history, and the same practices, the same archaeology, pretty much. Right? Let's trying to see if I can find anything that might help. No, not that one. Okay, first thing you can look at, what's that look like? A horse and a man together. Giants. But you find out that all the practices and all the rituals are all the same all through history. Right? And you find that they'll go under different names, but you can still track them because of their symbology and their practices. Yeah, I know Trey. And yeah, he definitely gets deep. Okay. And then in Illinois, city stones. You listen to the ancient natives here, and they'll even tell you there were giants over here. Ivan Panin, he's another good one. Have you ever heard about sevens in the Bible? Let's take it. Check this out. This is awesome. Audio's low. Why is my audio low?
You can pull it.
I want you to at least in your imagination, assume you have a pad in front of you, and I want to talk a little bit about sevens in the Bible. And they occur in over 600 passages. I probably should have said 700.
And how's the video sound?
Some are very overt. Some are structural. You really have to, and some of them are even hidden. but the sevens are everywhere. In fact, there's a discovery that I want to touch on about called the heptadic structure of the Bible. I want you to imagine a challenge. Imagine yourself being assigned in that classroom context
Now,
with
he
a blank
got all
sheet of
this from
paper.
Ivan Pannon.
And what I want you to imagine, you don't have to literally do it, but I want you in your mind's eye to accept an assignment to create a genealogy. You can do it from fiction if you like. But I want the number of words that you're going to end up using to be divisible by 7. In other words, if you take, when you finish making your little genealogy, if you count the words and divide by 7, there should be no remainder. In other words, I want you to have your assignment a multiple of 7 exactly. How many could do that?
I turned up my microphone. How's that sound better now?
It's not hard to do, especially in English. You can fudge it around, okay. Except I got another condition I want you to meet. I want the number of letters that you use, if you count them up, to be divisible by 7 exactly. Now that's a little tougher, isn't it? Because you might get the words come out, but you need to get the letters to come out. But by fudging around, you could probably do that. Except I want the number of vowels and the number of consonants each to be a multiple of 7. How many are still playing with me? Okay. Well, I've got some additional rules I want your assignment to meet. I want the number of words that begin with a vowel to be divisible by 7. I want the number of words that begin with a consonant to be divisible by 7. And I have some other things. I want the number of words that occur more than once
Have you seen this
to be a
before,
multiple
Walt?
of 7 exactly. And I'd like to have those that occur in more than one form to be divisible by 7. And those that are in only one form divisible by 7. How many are still playing? Okay. You realize every time I
just looking for a 7.
impose another 7-fold rule, you've got 6 chances of losing and 1 of winning just by randomness. You with me? Okay. The number of nouns should be divisible by 7. Only 7 words won't be nouns. And the number of names should be divisible by 7. Only 7 other kinds of nouns are permitted. Anyone still playing? Okay. And so what you some other things here. The number of male names is divisible by 7, number of generations. And you've probably guessed what I'm doing here. I'm describing to you the genealogy of Jesus Christ in the first 11 verses of the Gospel of Matthew. They meet all those rules. Now, you can't imagine doing that yourself. And I'm talking about Greek, which is rigid. Every Greek verb has to meet 5 conditions. It's much more structured than our English that we're used to. And so the precision, what I'm trying to get across is that we discover as you investigate the text, it has properties
shows that man
that are not simulatable.
He couldn't have come up with this genealogy.
Trying to do that even with the aid of a computer.
And that's just the
almost
genealogy. There's a
impossible
whole lot
task.
more that Ivan's come up with.
See, Greek also is one of the 2 languages. There's 2 languages that have a numerical value for every letter in their alphabet. Hebrew and Greek have that peculiar characteristic. That means that every word has a value. They call it the geometrical value. And we could go through this of the rest of chapter 1 and find it still obeys dozens of these 7-fold challenges. I won't go through them all here, but almost every characteristic you measure turns out to be a number that's an exact multiple of 7.
This one here.
Now, the child of Christ
That's an hour
in
and
Matthew
39
2,
minutes.
same
Check
also
that one out.
fits
Hidden
all of
treasures
that.
of the
And
Bible.
we could go on and on
That's
about
where
this.
part of this came from.
The chances of these things
He goes
happening
through
by
a whole bunch of
statistical
things.
accident are
And
phenomenally
then if you really want to
unlikely.
check it out,
If I
check out
just have
Ivan
2 of
Pannon
these,
himself and check
if I
it.
have
He
one
doesn't have
right,
anything online. He's
rule of
ancient
7, you've
and
got
dead.
6 chances of losing, 1 of winning, right?
I think he died in the 50s.
But if I have 2 rules,
Uh,
that's 1 chance in
born in
7 squared, or 49.
1850,
In other words, you
somewhere
have,
around in there.
by randomness, you have 1 chance in 49
But
of it
you
coming
can
out
look
the
up
way
his
you want
work
it. You
and
with me?
check it out.
And if I have 3 of those,
You know, of
it's
course,
1
don't
chance in
believe him. You know,
343.
double
So
check
it's
his
always
math and all that kind of stuff.
the exponent of the number you're looking at. And so if I have 4,
Sorry about
it's you have 1 chance in 2,400 of getting it by just statistical accident. And so if you go down this list, I've given you 9 rules so far.
That's only 9.
Those 9 rules mean that you have 1 chance in 40 million of having it come out right by just statistical accident. You know, once you understand the statistical behavior, the more rules there are, the more unlikely it is to come about by anything other than deliberate design. And so And if you'd like to try this, let's assume you say, well, I can try to do that. If I've got to do that, if I worked 8 hours a
getting to
day,
the
40
point
hours a
where
week, 50 weeks a year, that's 2,000 man-hours a
Running out
year
of
in
things
effect.
to watch.
And 7 to 9 chances means I've got to have 40 million
720.
attempts to try to get it by randomness. If I can do, it takes
Lose
10
my
minutes
eyeballs.
at a time to write one of these genealogies, then that would take 400 million minutes, or over 3,000 years. But it gets worse than that. That's just a quick approximation. Let's look at further. If I go on with these words, these rules, it turns out
It's coming to me.
that I can give you actually
going through that
34 of
one?
these.
This one's like way.
And that's one chance in oodles. Okay? And
Can
so,
you still hear me, Walt?
if you still want to try doing this mechanically, and that means you got 7 to the 34th power, that's 5 times 10 to the 25th tries would be needed, and there are 3 times 10 to the 7th tries in seconds per year. Let's assume you had a supercomputer that would do 400 million of these per second. How long would it have to work? It still would have to work over 4 times 10 to the 12th computer years. In other words, if I had 1 million of these supercomputers, it still would take over
Delayed
4
by
million
30
years.
seconds.
Yeah.
I think it's across that it's not this is not something that could happen by randomness. And and this was only with 34.
Hit the
Dr.
settings
Ivan
button
Panin, who's
and
researched this,
turn up
who
the
discovered
speed.
these things, he identified 75, not 34 rules, and that goes beyond our imagining. Dr. Ivan Panin, born in Russia back in 1855,
1855.
Exiled at an early age, he got involved in a plot against the Tsar, emigrated to Germany and then the U.S. He graduated from Harvard in 1882.
That
And
tells me to
interestingly
double
enough,
check
he
his stuff,
discovered
'cause
Christ.
he might
Now,
be
every one of
amazing.
us in this room that has discovered Christ are the result of a miracle. But if you've got a PhD from Harvard, that's a bigger miracle. Okay. And so, but he also discovered early in his career what he calls the heptadic structure of the Scripture. And back in 1890, actually, he committed the rest of his 50 years of his life, generating over 43,000 pages of discoveries. Very dry reading, but staggering in their implications. Because among other
I like
things,
this.
it
It
tells
has-
you there are all kinds of properties
Still
of the
wanna try?
Torah that depend on the precise letters that you're using, which tells you not only did God give Moses the Torah, he gave it to Moses letter by letter. You pull one letter out of that and some of those properties start to dissipate. Staggering implication to an information scientist.
Cool.
And so,
I'll put up some more stuff.
but I want to mention just one of these that to me is the most staggering of them all.
Hopefully I'll
The
still
New
be here when
Testament
you get back.
consists of 27 books. That means they have a word that starts them and a word that ends them. And if there's 27 books of the New Testament, then you've got 54 words, okay? And so there's a total vocabulary of those words that happen to be 28 words in the Gospels. And so if you go through all this arithmetic, the shortest word, the longest word, all that sort of thing, each one of those are multiple of 7. But here's the one that's interesting to me. The vocabulary in the Gospel
really
of
cool
Matthew
part.
that is unique to the Gospel of Matthew happens to be a multiple of 7. It occurs 42 times, that's 7 times 6. It has 126 letters, that's 7 times 18. And that's the only property that these words have is that they are unique to the Gospel of Matthew. And they come out precisely as a multiple of 7. You with me so far? My question is, gee, that's interesting. How could that have been organized? Let's imagine that Matthew deliberately tried to make it come out that way. How would you go about doing that? There's only 2 ways you could do that. One is you could have all the other authors of the New Testament agree not to use those words.
Cutting off my head.
How many think that happened? I don't think so. Well, the other way,
That's a little
you could
better.
use that argument linguistically to prove that Matthew must have written his last. That's the only way he could preserve that property, right?
Can you see my eyeballs now?
So I could use that as an argument, at least, that Matthew wrote his document last. Well, that's pretty interesting. So Gospel of Matthew wrote his last, except I discovered that when I look at the Gospel of Mark, it has the same property. That the words that are
Right.
unique to the Gospel of Mark are a multiple of 7 exactly. That proves that Mark was written last. Well, no, wait a minute. If I look at the Gospel of Luke, it also has that property. That the words that are unique to his writing in the New Testament, those words, there's the number of words that are unique to him are a multiple of 7 exactly. That proves that Luke wrote his last, except so did John. Each one of these wrote theirs last.
They all couldn't write
In
last.
fact, so did James, Peter, Jude, and Paul. Each wrote last. Each one of their writings, the collective writings, has a vocabulary unique to them. Staggering. Staggering.
All
You
have to
can't
go to
prove
the
the Bible.
source.
Yes, you can. The more you know about the information sciences, the more
You
you
had to do a honeydew.
discover that we're dealing with something that is supernatural. That is supernatural.
Koinonia House is a nonprofit Christian ministry that is supported by the purchasing of materials and donations.
Okay. We're at the home page. Yeah. Oh, Roy. Speaking of Roy, for those blacksmiths out there, do you know the first movie ever? It's hidden. Why? But the first movie ever was about blacksmithing. Now here's another cool thing about Scripture.
We're giving
Looking at
away
this.
free Donald
Oh,
Trump
God.
gold bars. Folks, we're doing a special Black Friday sale, and for today
Holy
only,
cow.
we are giving away these beautiful Donald
Nope.
Trump gold bars
Well,
to
hold on.
anyone who wants one.
That's my daughter.
All you
Before I really get into the topic of this lecture, I want to address why the name Yahuwah. Well, it comes from what they call Tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vav He. Of course, in the King James Bible, it's rendered as Jehovah. Some say, well, there's no J, so it should be Yehovah. And others say, well, there's no V either, so it should be Yahovah. Others say, no, it's Yahweh. And I have settled on Yahuwah. I was sort of a Yehovah guy for a while. And I understand Yahweh too. I'm not, first of all, let me just tell you right up front, I am not a sacred namer. Okay, I'm not. I recognize that God has a name, and his name is not God, nor is it the Lord. It is Yod He Vav He. Now, as
What do
far
we
as
got
how
going
it's
on here?
pronounced, people can debate it. And I think really whether you're saying Jehovah, Yehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh, or Yahuwah, everybody's doing the best they can with a bunch of consonants and filling in vowels. But I'll tell you why I landed on Yahuwah, and really Sheila landed on it before I did, is because of the names of the prophets And you can go to a website, behindthename.com, and look up some of the prophets' names. There are a number of them that include the name of God in their name, such as Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu. See, the part, his name, actually Jeremiah or Yirmiyahu, means Yahuwah has uplifted, but it's pronounced Yahu, that portion of God's name that's incorporated into Jeremiah's name, Yirmiyahu. Same thing with Eliyahu, Elijah. My God is Yahuwah. The pronunciation is Yahu. And Yasha Yahu, or Isaiah, Yahuwah is my salvation. So really, it was the incorporation of the name of God in the prophets and the way it is pronounced that caused me to land on the pronunciation of Yahuwah for Yod Hey Vav Hey. And it also just kind of works out cool because I had that little intro talking about the Bermuda Triangle, and the Yahuwah Triangle just sort of, well, it rhymes with it. Okay, I'm not that deep, right? I'm telling you, this is just sort of my thought process as I'm going through this stuff. But regarding the name of God, this is early representation of some of the Hebrew, the early rendition of the Hebrew, sort of a pictograph language there. And you can go online and see like the Paleo Hebrew and the ancient Hebrew and stuff, and see different depictions
Not
for
sure
the
how to do
letters
that.
of the alphabet, the Hebrew letters, and their corresponding meanings. Our letters don't mean anything. It's just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? But the
And what's really cool is you can actually learn Hebrew by checking out, understanding what the picture is of the thing, what it means and what it is, and then going by that, right? So look at this. Right? Goes left to right. Hewed, arm and hand. This one here is behold. Right? This one here, that's a nail. And behold. Well, who was strung up by the hands with a nail? That's what he's getting to.
The Hebrew letters actually have meaning. In fact,
Right.
when I was taking Hebrew
But
101
every word
twice,
does that.
we learned that every word basically is based on like a 2 or 3 letter sheresh root word that they add prefixes to, and depending on whatever the root word is, you can add prefix or suffix to it, but it'll still have the inherent meaning of the root as part of the word's meaning. But also it can contain the combined meanings of the letters that make up the word. And so we were taught that if every letter has up to 7 meanings, they say, then every Hebrew word must have 70 meanings. So it's a pretty deep language as you look into it. But what's really cool when you look at the name of God, thus spelled, Yod He Vav He, reading right to left as the Hebrews do, it's interesting. I'm going to show you something reading left to right now, what the meaning of those letters are. Of course, reading right to left in Hebrew would be hand, behold, nail, behold, excuse me. But reading in English left to right, it's behold the nail, behold the hand. That's rather interesting that the name of our God actually talks about a hand with a nail in it. Like right from the beginning, when he first introduced himself to mankind, he was telegraphing something. He was telling us something, that there was going to be a hand with a nail in it. And even in the modern version of Hebrew, the way the letters are depicted
So is that
today,
what your name
you
means?
can put
King
together
consumption?
interesting pictures like this. Yod Hey Vav Hey, sort of like the
King
God
destroyer?
Man right there. Anybody
You just love to eat.
care to guess which hand we're talking about that has a nail in it? The left or the right hand? I'm sure you're probably thinking the right hand. Well, there's good reason to think that way, because you can see all through the scriptures a reference to God's right hand. Exodus 15:6, for instance. Your right hand, Yahuwah, has become glorious in power. Your right hand, Yahuwah, has dashed the enemy in pieces. Wow.
Excuse me.
Care to guess who or what is the right hand of the Father? Yeah, Yeshua, the Son. Same thing. You can take the Hebrew letters and form an interesting picture right there. And if you imagine that hand is
Yud,
palm facing you,
Hey.
It's the right hand. Yod,
Hey.
Shin, Vav, Ein in that case. And if you've heard some of my other teachings, you know that I've looked at the meaning of the letters of Yod, Shin, Vav, Ein and put together one of the possible meanings for the name Yeshua is the hand that destroys the establishment of the eye. And you'll see right here, I've got the all-seeing eye with a no-go sign over it right there.
Hey, Zulu.
Yes, we have the victory in Yeshua, the right hand of the
I
Father.
know. I wish they
We see in
hadn't
Isaiah
killed him.
41:10, don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be dismayed, for I
What
am
you
your
really
God.
need to
I
do
will
is check out
strengthen
his
you.
pre
I will
platter
help you.
stuff.
I
This
will
is where
hold
that
you
comes
up
from.
with my victorious right hand. So we are victorious through Yeshua, the right hand of Yahuwah. How cool is that? I just think that's like seriously awesome.
Now this one's kind of cool.
Hey everybody, another video here for you today. Now, I'm not sure if I can upload this Saturday or Sunday,
That's got to
but
be
when
the
I did
bottom of
my
Illinois.
Illinois mound video yesterday,
'Cause
I was
Illinois,
reminded of this place, and I wanted to talk about this the next time I talked about
there.
Illinois. Then I forgot about it.
Quit moving it
I
on me.
thought, I'd do it some other day, but nah, that day's going to be today. Right down here is a pretty big mystery. This is a little different than other ancient America videos. This is not about mounds. This is about the stone wall mystery. This is called the Giant City Stone Fort Site, and it's right down here. You can make it out pretty good here on Google Earth, right down here. This is not a small stone wall. It's been fairly reconstructed. A lot of people that came in here in the 1800s used this stone wall
Looks like it's got more
for
up here.
building material, but the
Unless that's a
answers here,
trail.
well, they're few and far between. Here's some just general information. The Giant City Stone Fort Site is the site of a prehistoric stone enclosure located within Giant City State Park,
Dismantled by
Jackson
the
County,
European
Illinois.
settlers.
The stone fort dates to the late Woodland period and was constructed and used between the period between 800 or between 600 and 900, and that is just a guess. It is one of 10 such sites known in southern Illinois. All 10 were constructed either on promontories or hilltops. The Giant City site is in the former group as it sits atop a sloped ridge. The
Yeah,
purpose
it's
of
accessible.
these enclosures is unclear.
Yeah,
Well,
nature trail.
archaeologists
So you gotta
originally
hike.
theorized that they were military fortifications. The present archaeological consensus suggests that these sites were used as meeting places or ceremonial locations of some nature. Could you be a little more general? Personally, when reading about this, I don't think they have a clue, but here's some remnants of these stone walls. And people that came in here, the early settlers, used these for building material. And then they were partially reconstructed, but here's what sits up here today. I will leave a few websites below. I guess they have a walking trail up here, a third of a mile long. You can go check out these ruins. But no good answer, as far as I can see, as to when these things were built. This was a very interesting PDF that goes over many periods of history here. Gives a little diagram of the park, but it says human occupation here goes back about 10,000 years. They first started making this into
Got
a
a whole
park in
5 people now.
1934. Archaeological work went on here in the mid-1950s, but it wasn't until 2001, I believe in that time period, Southern Illinois did some work here, and they determined, based on what they found, these are prehistoric ruins. Here's a look at one area right nearby in this Giant City Park here. I guess this is called the Street of the Giants here. Here's another look at the area. I'm assuming at some point in time, local legend associated this place with giants, maybe. Now, right above the site, I noticed this right down here. Is this a natural feature? You notice that right there? Is that a mound, or is that just a natural hill? That caught my eye right there. That looks pretty symmetrical.
I don't
Could
know.
just
There's
be a
other
natural
mounds out
feature.
here. Kind of, but not
Maybe.
really.
Maybe not. Here's a video I found. A guy visited the site here. I will leave this link in the description
Prehistoric
and at the end of the
stone
video.
wall,
It says Stone
285
Fort
foot.
Trail. This trail contains a 285-foot prehistoric stone wall. It is believed to be a relic of the Lewis people who inhabited this area during the
Third
late
of a
Woodland
mile.
period between 400 and 900 AD.
Half-hour
Length
rugged
a third
hiking.
of a mile. I think that is the pathway. A 285-foot stone wall. Here's one look at the stone wall ruins in here that I don't think there's any good answer to. A lot of guesses. Here's another look at the stone ruins. Any good thoughts on these? Please leave it in the comments below. Of course, in the New England area, the Northeast, a lot of these are associated to early settlers, But is that really a good answer? Does that fit? Well, here we have a mystery, stone walls. I think it's pretty fascinating. Stops at another sign here. It says the first written report of the stone fort appeared in 1883. And here is a very old pic. And I guess this wall was 10 feet thick at some points. But here you get an idea how big the wall was. My viewers are pretty opinionated. So any thoughts on who built these, when and why? Please leave it below. That is the Giant City Stone Fort site in Illinois. Why do they call it the Giant City? Well, that might be a myth. Maybe somebody can fill me in on that one. Near Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, the Salukis. But I did not want to forget about that one again. That's why I'm doing it today. Ancient America, pretty good mystery. Hope you thought that was cool, and you all have. A very nice day.
Fossils of hollow trees tell us about the pre-flood world, Dr. Kurt Weiss. Oh, that's really interesting to us blacksmiths because this is how coal is made. Y'all want to watch this one? We have the accuracy of Bible prophecy. Ghost hunters turned Christian. Biblical pre-flood world, but that's a 2.5 hour stream there. Grand Canyon, how it was formed by a pool above the United States there in Canada that overflowed and carved it all out within about a week. Using ultrasonics in order to fuse things together. That gives me an idea. John Hutchison. Is that a cat behind me? Hutchison effect. Frequencies.
Make the holidays sweeter. Russell Stover chocolates. Make happy.
This game, you're not ready for it.
Oh, then goodbye. Okay. This is him when he was younger. And these are all military surplus equipment. He's doing all this with frequencies. Look at that.
I've seen electricity go right into the objects and a million pieces just fly apart.
That thing's crawling up the wall. There's a knife embedded into the metal. That's the one I really wanted to see. And how it tore that one apart. Basically sound.
And jumping off to the ceiling, or simply go up, hover, and then fall back down.
I wonder if they show the ice cream one. That was kind of weird. It looks like it's just ice cream coming up out of a cup. Like a little creature crawling.
It wasn't just metal. It clearly wasn't just some big magnet or something like that.
Then you get into cymatics. Right? Show the one I want to show. See, that's all it is. Come on. Now you see what's happening here? Right? As the plate vibrates, all that vibration shoves everything that's here all back to these spots here. And they just keep sitting there and they keep rotating in that circle. Right? Well, that's what John's doing. Okay? That's all he's doing. It's just moving. Let's say this is one solid piece, right? And of that metal bar that came apart. That metal bar happened to go maybe across all this, right? And the part where it separates was maybe one of these nodes or something where it was trying to pull it apart, pull it to a different area. That kind of looks like the back end of a lightning bug. Right there. You'll see ones in here that look like turtles. But when it turns around and it makes a new design, when you change its frequencies, see that? Circle. There was one I watched the other day, it was a bubble. How it showed sound was a bubble. Oh, if you like music, Winter God. He's making this marble machine that makes music automatically. Now imagine this as a bubble. Instead of just a 2D. Hey, Oswell. Welcome. Hey, I recognize that guy. I recognize him too. Yeah, there we go. Cymatic bubble. How is it I make somebody a moderator?
How'd you make me a moderator?
I don't remember.
Hover over their name. Go to the three dots.
I tried that. And this is what it gives me. Just turns my sidebar off and on.
You have to go to your channel stuff and do that, but I'd probably do that after you done stream.
Well, somehow them guys have been able to do it on the fly. Anyway.
Turn this down a little bit.
Oh, because this is drowning me out?
I think so.
Yeah, a lot like the stars in the water. See? Cymatics is some really interesting stuff. There was one that showed, unfortunately I deleted my history, but it showed how the vowels, maybe I can, there was one that had, it was saying something special about the vowels and how the vowels. Maybe? Aluminum mercury, that makes some really weird stuff.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're not.
Move it a little bit closer.
I didn't even hear it in headphones.
Oh.
That's something I don't like.
What?
Every time I try to grab that little bar, it keeps going over to the other screen.
You can use the scroll wheel on the mouse if you want. Do y'all mean that his mic is low or that the video he's playing is low? Or like both? You could resize that if you want. That chat screen.
Well, I wonder if it's low if this is because of this.
Well, that doesn't really do anything.
Is this one working?
You should. Okay, so I think it's your voice, your microphone. So, so
mic volume is all the way up.
Yeah, so you could turn that down.
The desktop can come down a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, because then
15.1.
Yeah, so now when they turn the volume up, then your voice will still be higher than the video.
Unintended consequences, otherwise known as Baldini, one also. Hey, Anna. Baldini is a freaking genius also. Hey, I had that guy in here a minute ago. All right, where are we at? Sky Ice. See, there's the royal dragon bloodline again. And people still can't figure out who the real guy is. Come on, people. What is this one? Weird science. Okay. History revealed. Maybe it's in that one. Using sound to melt stone or cut stone. Yeah, we might as well show that one. Goodbye. There we go. I tell you, buddy, but that kind of looks phallic there. I wonder if it's not going very fast. Still in. And staying. I think that's alignment also. That's cool. Two. 3. spinning on there because of the vibration. And he's cutting through glass. Using frequency, using vibration. Look at this. Down here, these little things. The watch thing gets done. Look at that. See that? And they're wondering how they make completely inside perfect square corners in 3 flats. All you gotta do is have a square pipe. Perfect circle. And it'll have them striations like they see. That they see in there. Where it looks like it was a saw. Wonder, can you hear my daughter's roommate next door? There's only like a little window separating us. He's on his gaming computer. Yeah, imagine. Now you know how to make stone stuff. Let's see how Ed did it. Mr. Lee Scallion. He just used a copper pipe. Didn't hurt the pipe. Just sharpened it. And it's just vibration. All he did was vibrate that pipe right down through the stone. And you see how it's got them little marks on it, kind of like it was drilled with a rotary drill. Right, like that line there, and that line there, that line there, that line there, that line there. It's all from that pipe. Yeah, that's all he used. And if you notice on the hieroglyphs, they had a lot of times their staff had what looked like a tuning fork on the end of it. I wonder if that had something to do with the building construction. This is where the rock was. I was sitting on top. And this is what cut through this end here. Cut through to there. But this end here was that brick that he had sitting on top of it. Sitting on top of that. So that might be why that's lit. Or it might have been lit before. I don't know. I got a feeling it could be just a plumbing pipe. Does seem like it's mushed a little bit. Now this is the shape he's going to put in that rock. Just with vibration, see? There's another one. That's the shape of that pipe he just showed you. Now here he's going to show you something else. This is how they fit the rocks together so perfectly well. Or how they cut them. You've got this one tied down. And this one here is the one vibrating. And all they're going to do is they're just going to keep vibrating until they just kind of fit together and sand each other perfectly fit. Exactly. And then you can't get a piece of paper in between them. See there? Look at that. perfect. That's what's making the ball. That wire here is connected to that speaker that he had in that tin box. And what frequency he's playing, I don't know. Yeah, I showed a little bit of Hutchison earlier. Evidently, he's just going to keep showing this. Gary Wayne. Oh my God, that man. He's done over 30 years of research on all the Nephilim and where each one, where the Anakim went to, where the Rephaim went to, and all that, and how they all divided into different tribes again. What their characteristics are, what their names mean, who they are now, where they ended up in mythology. He's got a book called The Genesis 6 Conspiracy. I highly recommend it. There's more on the elongated skulls. Dead men's secrets were ancient times really primitive. Yeah. That's enough of that noise. I think they have a big what do they call it? Case for saying that they have a lot better technology than what we have now, way back before the flood. Giants everywhere, giants. Federal Reserve, the creature of Jekyll Island. The ball was spinning inside the spring. And see here, they're making soldering bonds with ultrasonics.
Introducing Hyperline, the most amazing soft body armor ever. Hyperline is made for...
Goodbye.
Today on Applied Science, I'm going to show you this technique of ultrasonic soldering. This lets you bond all kinds of unusual metals to nonmetals, such as copper to silicon, or aluminum to nickel, or phosphor bronze to glass. Pretty much any reasonable metal or ceramic or glass can be bonded with this technique. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how this works, the science behind it, how you can build your own rig, and then also some options for commercial equipment. So to make this work, you need two things. One, the ultrasonic soldering iron, and this is actually relatively easy to build with parts you can get right away, and you can buy it commercially too, but we'll take this apart later and see exactly how I built it. And then the next thing you need is this special solder. This whole process is a chemical reaction between an active solder and the base materials. So it completely doesn't work with just normal, electronic solder or really any other kind of solder that you might encounter. These active solders are only made by 2 or 3 manufacturers worldwide, and as far as I can tell, they don't use distributors. And so you'll never find these solders on DigiKey or any other easy to buy place. So what you have to do is go to the manufacturer's website, and it says, call us for more details. So whenever I see that, I always feel like that's a good prompt to kind of come up with an alternative. So I used this for most of the experiments today, and this is actually an alloy that I made myself by melting down the ingredients in a vacuum induction furnace and then poured it out and cut it into strips. So, we'll talk about that in my next video, but whether it's through money or connections or determination, you have to come up with some of this active solder. So let's look at the chemistry first and see how this process is so different from regular soldering. So in conventional soldering, what we're looking for is a metal-to-metal bond. And this is good because all metals, as far as I know, use this metallic bonding, where it's this sea of electrons. So basically, if you get any metals next to each other and you warm them up a bit, they will bond together. The problem is that we live in an oxygen atmosphere here. So if you have a metal laying out, the surface here is not copper. It's actually copper oxide because this thing's been sitting out in the air for a while. And so that's a problem because this copper oxide gets between the solder and the base metal, and that's not a metal, so then this metallic bonding can't work. So the whole point of flux is that we remove the oxide layer, and then we have metal-to-metal contact, and then the flux also creates this little bubble, like literally an encapsulation of the joint, so that oxygen can't get in there while you're working. And this works very well. The joke goes, what's the difference between someone just beginning soldering and a pro? Flux. And it's true, you got to use lots of flux and use the right kind of flux, and that's what makes soldering work in atmosphere. One thing that I always found paradoxical is that, if you don't clean certain types of flux off the metal after you're done with it, it will actually cause the metal to corrode. So how could it be that flux removes corrosion and then also causes it? The answer is that the skin of oxide is actually what's preventing this copper from corroding away like iron. So if you have iron, it basically flakes apart as it rusts and disintegrates. But copper doesn't do that because the coating on here is continuous.
She's also really good.
It actually protects the
That's
metal.
West Blazes.
So if we covered this in flux, the first thing that would happen is we eliminate the oxide
Trey
coating,
just put
and now
this
we
one
have
out.
nice
Let's see what
fresh
it says.
metal, easy to solder. But then if
These are called Jacob Haar seals. The seal on the screen that you see behind me back here, this one comes from the very famous Flinders Petrie, the famous Egyptologist Flinders Petrie. What seals like this one are is on the bottom it will have a seal on it that you can stamp something with. They're used by royalty, kings, and officials of the high court. In this case, there's a scarab beetle. It's Egypt. Now, dozens of these have been found with that particular seal on them. A lot of people don't know this. Coming from this area right here, just outside the staging area where the plagues of the Exodus are recorded to have taken place. This land here would be Goshen, where the Israelites are stated to have lived during the time of the Exodus. These seals come from that land right there of Goshen, and also over here from Canaan. So you have Abraham, you have Isaac, and then you have Jacob, and Jacob's name would be changed to Israel. Canaan, ancient Canaan, is the modern day Israel in the ancient Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Jacob's name would be changed to Israel. Israel had 12 sons, the 12 tribes of Israel. One of those sons was Joseph, who was carried into bondage over here into Egypt, where that step pyramid complex is. The land of Goshen is right here, where all of these scarabs are found, and also up here in the land of Canaan. These are royal seals right here. Well, Jacob Har, this seal right here, Jacob Har, with Jacob, that would be Jacob, and Bahar down here on the bottom. Bahar means he chose. This name back here, I am that I am. That's what God told Moses to go tell Pharaoh when they ask, who is it that hath sent you? Tell them that I am. The great I am that I am, have sent thee. There is an unusual character in Egyptian history, a very mysterious character portrayed in the Mummy movies, named Imhotep. Now, Imhotep is said to have, well, he is credited with building the Step Pyramid complex, the seven level, it's got 6 steps, 7-level Step Pyramid complex. Many believe looks a lot like a grain storage facility. In fact, many, myself included, believe that the Egyptian Imhotep and the biblical Joseph, seen right here, both credited with starting a golden age of Egypt, may be one in the same. Well, in Joshua 24, verse 32, it reads this: the bones of Joseph, which the Israelites had brought up out of Egypt, were buried in Shechem in the plot of land that Jacob bought for 100 pieces of silver. We are told specifically that the body of Joseph was taken out of Egypt when the Hebrews left during the Exodus. The Avaris statue, I think, is more likely a statue, particularly with the red hair, of Jacob. There are 12 tombs, and the one in front of that statue was empty. But I can tell you this, that Joseph would have originally been buried by the Step Pyramid, the grain storage facilities that he built. And there inside that empty tomb with the mummified ibis birds. Now, in 1964, Walter Emery, whose book I have right here, Archaic Egypt, found huge underground galleries containing the mummies of sacred animals, namely ibis birds, mummified ibis birds, dedicated to Imhotep. No inscriptions were found on the walls of the beautiful sarcophagus room, and the sarcophagus was empty. Walter Emery spent his entire life looking for the tomb of Imhotep. My opinion is he found it. Modern Egyptology, like with many other things, simply doesn't like what he found. More importantly, the mastaba was oriented to the north instead of the east, meaning just like on that signet ring, Imhotep had his mastaba pointed in the other direction, away from the pagan Egyptian gods. Joseph saved Egypt from the 7-year famine and was an interpreter of dreams. Well, Imhotep, or I am Hotep, saved Egypt from the 7-year famine and was also an interpreter of dreams. Joseph was a foreigner from another land, made second to Pharaoh over all of Egypt. Imhotep was also a foreigner from another land, made second only to Pharaoh over all of Egypt. Joseph, well, the body is missing. And Imhotep, where the body should be, all those ibis birds are, his body is missing. Joseph died at 110 years old, according to your Bible. Imhotep, commonly recorded as having died at 110 years old. Oh, but wait. There's one more. The name Imhotep, or I am Hotep, is comprised commonly of these 3 symbols. The feather, just like in the weighing of the hearts, heart is on one end, feather on the other end. Your heart must weigh lighter than the feather. Only God can make one's heart lighter than a feather. The wisdom owl, the old wisdom owl, that symbol can either be light or dark, just like most symbols. But look at this right here. This is a table upon which sets your daily bread. The name Imhotep is commonly translated as the one who comes in peace. Not a bad name, a really comforting name. The only thing is this, is that Imhotep is not really a name. It's actually a title, encapsulated here on the screen in a cartouche. However, in this common translation, we're missing the god's name, yet it's right in there. Let me show you what I mean. This right here is the cartouche of Thutmosis III. Easy way to remember this. Name of the god, name of the man. Tuth, God's name, is Thoth, seen right here. Name of the man is born. Thutmosis, Thoth is born. Right up here in his cartouche, we see the ibis bird for Tuth or Thoth. Name of the man, Moses. I've made it in gold up there. Only, well, the ibis birds, the people of Egypt brought those for Joseph or Imhotep. No matter the case, if we looked at Ramses II, otherwise known as Ramses the Great, name of the god, Ra, name of the man, Meses, born from Ra, there's the symbol for Ra right there. Amenhotep, Amenhotep, name of the god, Amun or Amun. Hotep, Hotep, Hotep means mouth of or speaks for or is pleased. Well, wait a second. Imhotep or I am Hotep, well, Hotep means mouth of or speaks for, and the god's name is I am. The great I am. There is no God. I am in Egypt. Therefore, and last one, Joseph, according to the Torah, the Bible, worshipped Yod-He Vav-He, also known as I am. Imhotep speaks for, in the God's name, I am. And that it was Joseph who they likened to their God of wisdom, not Pharaoh. So when Thutmosis, name meaning Thoth is born, saw Moses come in and say, the God I am has sent me, I promise you he knew about that tomb and who the Egyptians likened unto their God of wisdom, Thoth. In other words, by the end of the Exodus story, this one here, who tried to compare himself to a God of wisdom, even his own name will be taken from him. You are looking at a recreation of the actual Red Sea crossing site, approximately to scale on the screen. That is the Egyptian to Arabian side where the Hebrews crossed. I would like to thank you for watching this presentation. This was just a few short clips from our film Exodus over at the God in a Nutshell project. Actually, this is just the tip of the iceberg of all of the elements that are within that film. This is probably one of the best films, at least to date, that we've ever made at God in a Nutshell. It goes hand in hand with the book Exodus by the God in a Nutshell project, which can also be found on Amazon.com as well as over at God in a Nutshell. I just want to pray a special blessing. This is the holiday season, the Christmas season, and I just want to pray a blessing over all of you and your families, and also invite you, if you enjoyed these clips, to come over, and I'd like to invite you to come over and watch our film Exodus. If you enjoyed these short clips, I'd like to invite you to come over to God in a Nutshell and watch our full-length Exodus. It's quite a journey. I think you'll really enjoy that ride. I'm Trey Smith, again, of God in a Nutshell. God bless every last one of you and your families on the other side of the screen.
It's a bit chilly out there.
Say you're looking for the perfect present. You might try looking at the perfect place.
Goodbye. Rand Campbell, he's another good friend. He's also a flat earther. Check him out. He don't have very good internet sometimes, but he tries. Oh, this guy. Jerry Williams, aka Greater Sapien. He's a big time Glover defender and atheist.
Here's your mint pizza.
Thank you. Tomb of Illumination. He's a good one. Say hello to my little friend. Robert Breaker. He's another good one. That's L.A. Marzulli there. He's the one who'll tell you all about the elongated skulls of the Nephilim, where they find them all over the world. I really wish I could find that one about the vowels, though, with the cymatics. Oh, my faves. Water. Living water. That's a new one. Your structured water. That'll make it get rid of all the bad frequencies that are in the water. When you structure it, you can use two magnets that are forced together in the way they don't want to go together, and then run the water through the middle of them. You can vortex it. You can just let it run through nature. Here's Brian Forrester. He's got DNA evidence of these elongated skulls. That's some new ones.
Hi, this is Brian Forrester of HiddenIncaTours.com, and today we're going to discuss more forensic facial reconstruction of the Paracas culture by Mark LaPlume. This is the cinnamon skull that was in the previous YouTube video. And for at least 7 years, I've been sending Mark LaPlume photographs of elongated skulls, not only from Paracas, but from other parts of the world. And Mark has done faithful reproductions based upon his artistic talent of what these ancient people who lived 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, what they looked like. Now, Mark has done this free of charge, and again, he has made at least 2,000 drawings based on some photographs that he's found from ancient collections, again, as well as those sent to him by me and by other people. What he does enjoy having are multiple views, so that way he can get the proper curvature of the face, etc. And here we see examples of his work. Now, Mark has a Facebook page called Root Race Research, and in that you can find possibly all 2,000 of the drawings that he has done. Now, as you can see from Mark's perspective, the ancient Paracas people were not very Native American looking like. They look more European-ish, but that is his impression. That's not some kind of influence that I tried to make on him. And now with the recent DNA evidence results that we've received from 18 different Paracas skulls, there are indeed European and or Eurasian haplogroups associated with the ancient Paracas people, which according to standard academia should not be there. But data does not lie. So please check out his Facebook page of Root Race Research. And though you may think that this is not drawn from an actual skull, it is, because several of these have been found not only in the Paracas area, but other parts of Peru. So if you'd like the book about the DNA results, contact Ellie at elliemarzulli.net. This is what the cover of the book looks like. And if you're interested in books that I've written, this one is at amazon.com. Elongated Skulls of Peru and Bolivia, The Path of Viracocha. Until next time.
Take 1 teaspoonful of this to shrink an enlarged prostate. Luckily, I was able to get rid of my prostate issues by doing this.
Don't care about your prostate. Oh, is it 7 minutes? Yeah, we can watch that. Hi, this is Brian Forrester coming to you from Paracas in Peru, and this is the summary of the DNA testing of the Paracas elongated skulls and related abnormalities found by medical professionals in the skulls themselves. Now, the academics that we are associated with here in Peru and elsewhere, their prediction for the results of the elongated skull testing, of which we had 18 different skulls tested, was that the haplogroups that would be found would be A, B, C, or D, because those are the haplogroups of the Native American people whose ancestors crossed over the Bering Land Bridge 12,000 plus years ago. We have sent the data out to different academics. Those that wish to examine the data are welcome to contact us in order to do peer review should they wish. But I think they will be somewhat disturbed with the fact that some of the haplogroups of the mitochondrial DNA that came back were in fact, a few were B, which is typical Native American, but other ones that showed up included U2E, K, J, and H. And the commonality of those are they were all found around the Black Sea and Crimea area. Also, the largest elongated skulls in the world, aside from the Paracas, have been found in the Black Sea
and Crimea area. So I'm now working on that relationship. There must have been some kind of maritime movement 3,000 plus years ago from that area, is my thesis. As regards the physical abnormalities, as I said in previous videos, the foramen magnum, which is where your spinal column enters the bottom of your skull, is at the center point in Homo sapiens sapiens, and it is quite round in shape, but the ones of the Paracas elongated skulls are significantly to the back and oval and narrower, so they probably had longer, thinner necks than Homo sapiens sapiens. And that, of course, is a genetic abnormality that cannot be explained by cranial deformation. That was confirmed by the medical experts that we had in this book, which is available from LA at lamarzulli.net. And also, it will be explored by other medical professionals, such as my radiologist friend Ken. And then also there are things called foramen ovali, I believe they're called, which are up and inside here in the skull. That is where nerve and blood flow comes out to feed the face, and that gives us our facial expressions. They seem to be absent in the Paracas elongated skulls, which means their facial expressions would have been very different from us, which again is an abnormality. Also, the two holes in the back of the skull in the Paracas were for blood and nerve flow because of the elongated nature of the skull. And not in the book, but the blood types are very curious. 12 different samples of ancient Paracas elongated skull blood was tested. A paper was written. The paper was then removed by other academics because it doesn't conform to standard or the standard story of history. 100% of Native American people who are 100% Native American genetically from Mexico all the way down to the southern tip of South America were and are supposed to be blood type O, 100%. But the results of the Paracas were actually of 14 samples. Blood type A, 28.5%, blood type B, 7.1%, blood type AB, which is the rarest on the planet, 21.4%, and only 43% were blood type O. So Will Hart and I, who is an author, will be writing a paper for Nexus magazine about this. What we can basically say is that the Paracas were a very complex genetic being existing 2,000 plus years ago on the coast, and the genetic anomalies are very curious because, again, they should only be A, B, C, and D, but there seems to be a very powerful Eurasian component to their DNA. I don't know if academics will bother writing papers about this, whether they'll attack us. The results are the results. Data is data, fact is fact. And so that is the summary of the story. And again, if you want the full story, you have to get hold of this book. These are the experts, and it will be available in March via la at lamarzulli.net. So for now, still exploring the Paracas in March via la at lamarzulli.
Yeah, go back a
Get
little
hold
farther.
of this book. These.
Okay. See if I can get a better. Mondo Gonzalez, Brian Forrester, Michael Alday, Rick Woodard, Malcolm Warren, Richard Shaw, and Chase Klotzke.
Are the experts,
And
and
L.A.
it will
Marzulli.
be available in March via la at lamarzulli.net. So for now, still exploring the Paracas. This is Brian Forrester in Paracas, Peru.
See, look at them ugly. That's a little baby. Look at this size. The head's bigger than his body.
Attention bargain hunters. Don't miss out. Here's a free backpack. Take it. It's yours.
Don't want it. Goodbye. New discovery, Egyptian pharaoh DNA not of this world. Well, that'd definitely be another one to take a look at, gander at, but it's kind of getting late, and I think my daughter wants her computer back. The sun's fallen angels nearly destroyed the world. Yeah, that's basically the whole secret to everything right there. If you look up Genesis 6 conspiracy, Rob Skiba, pre-flat earth, anything on his about Mount Herman and the Roswell connection, things like that, they're all awesome. And they all tell you about how the Nephilim weren't all destroyed in the flood. Somehow or another they came back. I mean, you figure, look at Goliath and his 4 brothers. And then you got Og of Bashan and Magog. And evidently they ended up becoming all the rulers of the world. And your Freemasonry is to weed them out, to figure out who they are. So that you join the Masons, and then they pay attention to who your bloodlines are, and blood vessels. That's what the holes in the back of the skull are for. But you trace them all the way back, and you find out that every single one of our rulers are all related to these Nephilim. Frozen civilizations found under the ice in Antarctica. Yeah, they say they found all kinds of shit on the moon. Possibility. Not all Nephilim were bad. Not all of them were evil. So they might have helped David. They might have helped Solomon build the temple too. I just watched this one last night, or actually just before the stream here. And what's really interesting is right here in the beginning, she's talking about children getting taken out of school. Or no, she's talking about this butcher that ended up being putting the meat of people in his hamburgers. But then right after that, it talks of this guy talking about how kids that are taken out of school in these tunnels, and they're taken to Masonic lodges or whatever, and then they're forced to perform rituals that are out of books like the Book of the Dead or something like that. Just really sick shit. No, I believe that the bad ones were the ones that were destroyed before the flood in the Clash of the Titans. And after that, they had a choice. because their genetics were more human after that than they were angel, and therefore they had empathy. Some of them, not all of them. Anyway, I'm going to let my daughter have her computer back, so I'm going to end the stream. And hopefully we'll be back in a week. Depends on her, though. It's her computer. So, y'all have a great day. Yahuwah bless. Love y'all.